I discovered vaping in 2011. I was at a meeting and a buddy of mine had this electronic cigarette. You know, it looked just like a cigarette and it had a green light. Oh, that one in particular happened to have a green light at the end. I tried it. To me, it tasted a lot like a cigarette, and immediately I asked him where to buy one, and he told me where to get one. And so the next day I went to my local smoke shop and I bought this cigalike, and I started using it right off the bat. At first I was not smoking because I was a cigarette smoker for many years, and I've tried everything to quit, from cold turkey to gum to patches to everything. Nothing ever worked. And at first this cigarette didn't work for me either. I used it for about a week and then I just went back to smoking. Eventually it broke. It wasn't until 2013 when I was with my girlfriend, then now fiance, and we were at our mall, and there was a kiosk in the middle of the mall that sold these electronic cigarettes that looked, the cigalikes, that's what they were called back then. You could try them. They had all different kinds of flavors, the little cartridge. They call them cartomizers, I believe. And so we're at the mall, we're sitting here trying these things, and my fiance, she's loving the flavors, and me, I am just loving the traditional tobacco flavor. So she bought a kit for herself and she bought a kit for me, and we were on our way. Both my fiance and I just wanted to try something new because we were both trying to quit smoking cigarettes and nothing had worked for either of us. So she bought a cigalike for me and a cigalike for her, and we went on our way. And she had used it for about 6 months or so without smoking a cigarette. It was working for her, and for me, that wasn't such the case. I would be smoking it here and there. I went maybe 3-4 weeks without smoking a cigarette, just smoking the cigalike, and after a while it wasn't producing that satisfying real cigarette would. The throat hit in it just wasn't enough, and the vaporizer that came off it just wasn't enough for me. For me, I always liked the traditional tobacco flavor, because to me, then, in order to quit smoking real tobacco products, I wanted to try to, with the cigalike, I wanted it to actually mimic a cigarette. That's why I always got tobacco flavor. My fiance, she always had all different types of flavors, like strawberry or Red Bull, or a whole different kinds of flavors. Both my fiance and I were looking for a few reasons to give up smoking. Number one, our main reason was for our health, and the other big reason was because up here in Massachusetts, cigarettes and other tobacco products are very expensive. A single pack of cigarettes up here in Massachusetts can cost you anywhere in between $8 to $10 or even more for just one pack of cigarettes with all the taxes. So that was another reason why we wanted to quit, because we wanted to have a life together. But for me, the cigalikes just weren't doing it. Then one day we were in that same mall again. This was like 6 months later. This was in like 2013 now, the end of it. About 6 months later, we saw they looked like a pen with a tank at the top. So we tried them out at the mall, at the kiosk, and I liked it. It was cool. It was a lot better. I actually liked it better than the actual cigalike. I actually ended up getting more vapor off it, and it just was a better thing. And my fiance offered to buy one for me and one for her because we could get a deal, because we knew the person at the kiosk. So nothing really came about it until about August 2014. I was at work, and all of a sudden a couple of my coworkers had come in with those very similar vape pens to the ones I saw at that kiosk. And, they were enjoying it. So, I was just talking to them, and they told me where to get one. And there ended up being this vape shop, this brick and mortar, to open in southeastern Massachusetts that sells only vapor products. It wasn't a smoke shop. you know, a place where you can buy tobacco products and all that. It was just strictly vapor products, and it was the first one to open up. So it was Labor Day of 2014 when I went down to that place and decided to check it out. So I went into this brick and mortar shop, and the staff in there was very knowledgeable. They knew what they were talking about, and as I'm looking in on the shelves, I'm seeing all these different types of vapor things. You know, they had actual mechanical mods there. They had RDAs and tanks, and I didn't know what any of that stuff was back then. I just wanted a basic starter kit. And I also noticed with this brick and mortar shop is that they had chalkboards in the shop with all the, it was a juice menu, and all the different flavors of the juice that they sold was on those boards. So you could actually go in there at the time and sit there and try the flavors and see what flavor you liked. You know, it was try before you buy type of thing. And, you know, this was 2014 we're talking here. I know today things are a little different, but back then you were actually able to go in there and try the flavors and vape in the shop. So I remember I ended up coming out with a starter kit, and I came out with this flavor called Boston Brew E-Liquids. It was a Boston cream pie flavor, and it was absolutely delicious. And I also came out with this other flavor. It was made by Time Bomb Vapors. It was called Pixie. It was supposed to be a purple pixie stick, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And I remember driving home, and usually when I'm on the road, I have 2 or 3 cigarettes from point A to point B. And this time, I used that vape pen, and I didn't have 1 cigarette from point A to point B. So right then and there, I started noticing something different. So a friend of mine that I work with was telling me what to do with this vape pen. He told me to still smoke while I'm using the pen, just to get used to it. And then he told me what to do was to set a date and then try to just use the vape pen and not smoke a cigarette. So once he told me that, it was on from there, because what I did was, it took me about a month. And then what I did is I put down the cigarettes and I just used the vape pen. I see how long I could go. The very first time that I actually did it and started vaping consistently was back in October of 2014. I actually went like 3 weeks without having a cigarette. Then I picked up, it was a fail. So once I had that idea in my head, I decided to keep using that method until eventually I stopped. So I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and as I kept vaping, I noticed that these vape pens just really weren't enough for me. I wasn't getting the throat hit, I wasn't getting the vapor production, new products were coming out, I was seeing people with these different devices. So I would always go to that vape shop because it was always the one that was always around. So they went in there and I got different tanks for my pen. I tried that out, and then it was in November of 2014. That's when I got my first mechanical mod and my first RDA. That's when I got into dripping. Let me tell you, once I did that, I didn't really smoke much after that. Each time I tried, it just kept getting longer and longer of me not smoking. But unfortunately, each time I did end up picking up cigarettes, unfortunately. But eventually, it all worked out. So I got real serious about vaping and not smoking in March of 2015. And I went all the way until November 2015 without a cigarette. In that time period is when several other vape shops in the area started opening up. They started popping up everywhere, and vaping became very popular. Whenever I picked up a cigarette, it just tasted disgusting, okay, because I was so used to vaping those awesome flavors. Just smoking a cigarette just felt so dirty and gross. I don't know why I ever did it, but it was just gross. But since November of 2015, I feel so much healthier. I can breathe and walk upstairs, and I can truly say that I feel that vaping has saved my life. And the idea for the YouTube channel and all my videos is because I would sit there every night and I would watch various other YouTube reviewers and see what products were on the market. And so now today, what I like to do is I want to make smokers, I want to switch the smokers over to vapors. And that is my goal. If you're a smoker out there, you know, if you watch my videos, I want to transition you to a vapor. It is just so much healthier than smoking cigarettes. You only have 4 chemicals in e-juice. You have vegetable glyceride, propylene glycol, the flavorings, and then nicotine. And the nicotine is optional. And, you know, for me, I definitely don't think that vapor products are tobacco products, as they're definitely not. Tobacco comes from a leaf. They're only trying to say that because it has nicotine in it. But nicotine is also an option for this e-juice. Nicotine isn't an option for other tobacco products. It's just in there and you have to deal with it, along with 7,000 other carcinogens. So, I'm Habitual Vapors, and this is my vaping story. So please, come check out my YouTube channel at Habitual Vapors. And vape on, and be happy.